Hello, everybody, and welcome to Women in Wisdom. I'm your host, Sandra Boyd, and I want to talk to you today about an article that I read that was produced by Global News. And it was about the Canadian government and the fact that they have, CSIS in particular, says that anti-feminist ideology is increasingly relevant. No kidding. But but also that this is not a false alarm. This has really been raised as a yellow flag, and that it's no longer just talk on platforms, but these groups are normalizing misogyny online, and it is creating real world harm. And the algorithms are actually turning these grievances into platforms that are recruiting young men and, of course, young women. And then I watched the Louis Theroux documentary, Inside Manosphere, and how these networks actually groom young men and young women to legitimize hostility towards women. And to be honest with you, the fact that CSIS and other government groups, and we know that our government, the Canadian government, it's not always the quickest draw, but all joking aside, they are taking this seriously and they are looking at this. And what's happening is that these ideas move from, I guess when ideas move into manifestos, and security agents, what they start to do, they start to pay attention to this. And the biggest issue that I found really shocking in the article itself is the two researchers that worked on this were women. However, they were doing their deposition, and CSIS was there, and a bunch of other government agencies were there to listen to them. And neither one of them would come on camera. They only used their first names because they had fear of retribution. They were fearful harm would come to them because this is what happens when women speak out. And I feel this is a chilling sign of what's happening in this day and age. And this is a slow culture seepage. Misogyny is eroding our safety and our well-being to speak out and say what we feel and speak up about things such as, right now, my big mission in life at this age and stage is to help the next generation, decrease the 124-year gap that it's going to take for women to have equality. And come on, we've been working at this for 120 years and we're still 124 years away from getting that. And really what's happening is we are going backwards as we become more vocal. We have to start taking action, and that can look like a number of things for us. We can report the threats. We can support prevention groups. We can also demand platform accountability. If you watch this show about these young men that are inciting misogyny and getting women back to the kitchen, first of all, you're not going to believe what they say. And you're not going to believe the number of followers they have and what they're getting away with and how they're speaking to the women in their lives, except for one guy, how he speaks to his mother is completely different on what he says, on the show. Just saying, we need to report these threats. We need to stop our complacency. And the other thing that we have to do, and I'm talking about all of us, because we all have sisters, we have wives, we have, our husbands, our brothers, all of us need to be involved in this. And We need to get ourselves educated, and we need to start having an opinion. And I'm sorry, everybody, but International Women's Day, as lovely as it is, we should be thinking about this every single day for the sake of the women in our lives, for the next generation of women. And so, my question to all of you is, are you having this conversation with your sons and your daughters? Do you know the content that they are consuming online? Are you looking to young people in your life? Because that's how they do. They draw these young men in. By the way, based on the documentary, a lot of it's about creating money for these individuals. So that's the other thing. Maybe this is something where you sit down with your children, both your sons and your daughters, or the younger children in your life and the men in your life, and you say, let's watch this documentary and let's have a family discussion around it. Have you taken the time to educate yourself around these issues that are facing women and society? So take a moment, think about this, ask the questions of yourself, and ask the questions of other people in your life. I'd love to hear from you.